So I just got back from KublaCon, and I am telling the truth this time as opposed to the one with Geekway to the west. It has been a busy month of May, and I have had the great fortune through working through WSBG to attend a few conventions. I did a recap on Geekway to the west and the few games that I managed to play there, and that's what this one's going to be about. I'm going to tell you a little bit about KublaCon if you've never been, if you happen to live in the San Francisco area or you're close to it, and you wanted to check it out or you thought about checking it out. Well, hey, that's what I'm here for, to tell you a little bit about what I saw. Although, fair warning, I saw a lot less with KublaCon than I did with Geekway, but we'll get to that in a second. And this is just sort of to talk about the games that I got to play while I was in KublaCon. So this is my KublaCon recap from a room and board perspective, from a game player's perspective. I'm not going to talk too much about the World Series of Board Gaming event that I was running there, which took up a lot of my time, but I'll probably talk a little bit about it. However, I will have a little KublaCon World Series vlog going up on the World Series of Board Gaming channel, so if you're interested in that and seeing a little bit about the event, you can check that one out. It was good. I think for the most part, people had a good time, which is the most important thing for me, right? I wanted people to have a great time. I wanted them to get a slight taste of the format of WSBG. And this one was a paid event too, so you could buy into a ticket and then you could win like your full 4-day hotel, $400 flight stipend, 4 entries into WSBG. It was quite a hefty prize. But let's talk a little bit about KublaCon and what it is. It takes place over the Memorial Day. Oh, see, look, there's a big WSBG Vegas sign. They were huge. I felt like they were really pushing WSBG in their newsletters, which on the WSBG side of things was hugely, hugely appreciated. Like, they seem really on board. I'm very hopeful that we'll be able to do another WSBG event there next year. And the players all seem to enjoy it as well. But yeah, KublaCon, they're into 20 years. 20 years, I got the little commemorative pin. 20 years at this site. They were at the Hyatt Regency, which is not to be confused with the Grand Hyatt attached to the San Francisco airport, because I went there first, and Renee said, "This is really ritzy." And I said, "No, for sure. This is, of course, where the board gamers are going to be." In this like $400 a night hotel. No. It wasn't that. I think it was about $100 US a night. We added an extra night onto our stay, and my credit card charged me like 140 Canadian. But yeah, Renee came too. Renee came as well, but she mainly came so she could explore San Francisco while I was busy working, and that's what happened. Here are some nice pictures. I want some pictures, Kubla. Give me some friggin' pictures. Well, here's a few pictures. Here's some pictures, and here is the atrium, essentially. See, it's quite a nice hotel, and this atrium is on the 2nd floor, and that's where open gaming took place. So there's the restaurant tables over here, and then all of this was kind of filled with open gaming. And then down below here, and see these doors, there was another area which was filled for kind of events, and that's where I spent most of my time. That was where the vendor hall was, and that is where I spent the entire time. I never went up to the open gaming. I kind of was around their library. They had around the same size library as Geekway. It kind of felt like Geekway's might have been a bit larger, but I think they were about the same. If I had to guess the amount of games, I'd say, I don't know, 1,000 maybe? Like, I have 200 in my house, so about 5 times that. That would be my guess. I don't know if that's the exact number. But that's where the main gaming happens, in those 2 spaces. But there were also rooms on the 9th floor, similar to Geekway. You kind of cram yourselves in wherever gaming can happen. Along this pathway, there were tables set up in all of these rooms. There were kind of boardrooms, which could be quieter areas, which would be pretty nice if you had a group that you were going there with. They also have the players wanted flags, big yellow flags if you're looking for a game, although I don't know as to their efficacy as much, because the open gaming seemed a little bit more spread out than Geekway. I still think they were great, that you could kind of pop in and see much clearer at a distance, the bright orange flags. But I think just if the more that the open gaming is spread out, the more that you have to circulate, the more you kind of feel awkward if you're a solo player, right? And that's just kind of the nature of the space. I don't know if they'll be there next year. I feel like maybe they're going to a bigger space, or that might happen. I don't know when. Even still, again, lovely hotel, no omelet bar, but we can't all be St. Louis, Missouri. But it's also cheaper than St. Louis, Missouri in terms of price, which, I like. I can make my own omelets when I'm dead. Now, for this one, WSBG took the vast majority of my time. This one took place we flew in Thursday. Renee and I flew in Thursday, and then we went. KublaCon started Friday, and it went Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. I think it wrapped up around 6 on Monday, as most conventions do. They wrap up around 6 on the last day. But again, 4 solid days of gaming. Started early in the morning on that Friday, or at least at 12. I know people were gaming. That's when my event started. It was around 12, and that's when the line opened. Pretty significant line, but that's always going to be the case with these things, it feels, until we have an online registering thing where you can scan and print your own badges, like the larger, like Origin style conventions do. It's just going to be the case. My schedule here for WSBG, because of some schedule conflicts, because I needed so many tables, I needed about 16 tables at all times, and space had already been booked out by the time that we like locked it in and solidified it. You know, other events that had come previous years, they had already locked that in earlier on. So I had to deal with a little bit of shifting spaces and shifting timelines, which wasn't really ideal for both the amount of hours which I had to work and the event itself, the flow of the event. So we had some hiccups. And if I am to go back next year, I think the schedule will be better. But I say that in terms of context, in terms of how many games I was able to play and how much time I had, because it wasn't it wasn't all that much. But thankfully, I had a couple of really awesome people who were okay with me getting up and playing games, and also leaving the game to go do some judging in the very last minutes of the night, you know, and talking to people and working for WSBG, because I always feel like whenever I'm at a convention for WSBG, I kind of have to be on WSBG and talking about the World Series of Board Gaming and making sure that I get enough sales to come to the World Series of Board Gaming so that I can go back to these conventions, essentially what it comes down to. But I had a really, really great time hanging out with these people. And in fact, I even picked up a game. This game was put forward as a new game to WSBG. This person who I'd never seen before came up to me and said, "Hey, I was wondering what the submission process is like for World Series of Board Gaming games." And I was like, "Well, you know, there's a process." And then he pulls out of his pocket this game and says, "I'm hoping I can get this game in." Which, if you don't know, this game is Spicify. This is one of my patrons, James, gave me this copy of Spicify. Which, if you don't know about Spicify, you should look up their Kickstarter, and you should really watch the video, because it is a sexy time. So I now have this definitely not sealed copy of Spicify. If I were to give this a review, the texture of the cards are a little weird. Like they're kind of hard to shuffle. They're a bit stuck together, but I assume that's just part of the process. Yeah, they were all sort of mashed together. I also found a couple photos of my face in here, which I don't know if that comes with the game or not, but they were mangled beyond belief. But now I own a copy of Spicify, a brand new untouched copy. I have it by good authority that it was untouched, and so I'm just assuming that it was all part of the processing. I don't want to get a big head, but I think the Spicify people, oh, what was his name? Dang it, what was the designer's name? It was Fabio, wasn't it? Yes, it was Fabio. I think Fabio just knows who I am, and I feel honored that I'm in the game. I feel honored that I'm in every copy of Spicify. I assume, or it would be weird just to be in this one copy. Anyway, super thrilled. This is a great convention game to play as well. Didn't get to play it, but there were so many people around that we absolutely could have. Great party game. Let me just give you a little sense of the card as well. This is one of my favorite cards in here. They're still moist, which is weird, but I really like this one, this card here, where you can let a randomly chosen partner face sit you. So there you go. There's lots of challenges to happen in Spicify, and and that will be that is proudly on my shelf. So shout out to James. I played a lot of games with James over the course of the weekend. James is a patron of mine, and JB also a patron of mine. Shout out to both of you. It was like super awesome hanging out. And then also shout out to Joe and his daughter Micah, also great hanging out. So the first day after my shift was done, I got to play a little bit more. We played 2 games. Let's get them up. We played first Argent the Consortium, which I was very excited to try. It was on my list of things to try when I knew James was going. I had him send me his BGG profile, and I gave him a list of like 21 games that I wanted to play, and it feels like maybe I was a bit ambitious. This is a worker placement game, which kind of reminded me a bit of Moonrakers in terms of the end game scoring. You're going to have all of these worker placement spots out, and you're going to have these goal cards which are like most influence, most marks, most intelligence. You want to get the most of these things, but you don't know what they are. They'll all be face down at the beginning, or most will be face down at the very beginning, and you'll get to look at one of them. And over the course of the game, you can choose to invest in like looking at all of them, or you can choose to invest in sort of growing your engine. You also have a number of different workers. To start, they'll all be different colors, and they all do different things when they're on the board. So, for example, the red sorcerers can wound people and basically knock them out of spaces. So it's a worker placement spot, but they're the ones who could bump people out of the worker placement spot. The purple ones let you play something immediately after, so you kind of get 2 turns in a row and you can ramp things up. Your black ones let you do a spell, which is a different action, and place a worker, so kind of increasing that action efficiency. And then these 2 are more defensive. If you don't want to get messed with, you can put them down to make sure you lock in certain spots, which I think are great. You also get these different spells over the course of the game, and you can upgrade them, spending mana to do various stuff. There was one, Joe at the table had a huge spell build. He was getting a whole bunch more and like increasing and tapping them. And we were just left with our itty bitty workers, but that doesn't matter because you also have an interesting way of this time track. Instead of putting a worker down or instead of placing a spell, you can just take one of these cards. You just take one, and when they're all gone, the round is over. And there's 5 rounds total. So you can kind of decide the pace of the game, which I also thought was really fun. So you're moving around all with the effort of uncovering what these final goals are and then trying to achieve them. Super cool. Quite liked it a lot. You have these ability cards. This was mine. I just got 2 mana. And there's a fun, this is where I kind of compare it to Fractured Sky. There's a fun idea of you looking at a card and you knowing what that thing is and nobody else knowing that that is an end game goal. And so you kind of have that advantage as you ramp things up. Now you can really telegraph that if you just buy 100 items and ignore everything else. But as Micah did, we're like, I wonder if most treasures is on there, as she's sitting there with like 100 treasures. But there's enough diversity that you can kind of expand. I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was really slick. I like the flow of the game. I like these people going in and out. And I like also that you resolve them in order. So you wait until the very end of the round to resolve them, then resolve them top to bottom, left to right. There are some special spots that you need things to activate, but you can get the things activated earlier in a turn. Super fun game. It didn't blow me away, but it's just a really solid worker placement game that I quite enjoyed. Would be happy to play anytime and would play really quickly, I think, too. I think, what does it say? It says 60 minutes on this. Yeah, 60 to 150 minutes. It was like 150 minutes if you have somebody who's constantly getting up and doing rules and regulations and trying to sell WSBG stuff. Yeah, then it might be 150 minutes. Otherwise, 60 minutes feels very reasonable, depending if all the players know how to play. And so I like that a lot. So we played that, and then we also played Moonrakers, which I had been wanting to play for a while. My friend Reed has this, but we still haven't played it. This is again by Ivy Studios. Now that bumps up my number of Ivy Studio games played to 4. The only one I'm missing is Mythic Mischief to play. And this one was fun. It confirmed to me once more that everything Ivy Studios does is completely overpriced and deluxified for no reason. However, I still quite enjoyed the game. Moonrakers has sort of a very basic deck building system. We just played the base game. You have these contracts that you want to complete where you need to play that many of those cards. And so those cards do different things. They give you more actions. You only start with one action, so you can only play one card. But if you play a blue card, then you can play 2 cards, right? So that things chain together. They let you draw cards. They let you do damage. They let you block the game taking points away from you. They do a bunch of different things. And that's where the negotiation happens, because you can negotiate, in this instance, anybody can take anything. You can negotiate and be like, hey, put me on the mission. I will take 1 coin and you can have 4 points and 3 cards. I just want 1 coin. And somebody might put you on the mission. But then you might not contribute to the mission. You might just fail the mission so that they can't do anything with it. Or you might contribute to the mission, or you might have wanted to be on that mission to cycle your hand, because every time you're on the mission, you get to discard your hand. And so you might be trying to draw a better hand for your turn. Or you might just really go full honk with an alliance member and just unify together the whole game and wreck shop like Micah and I did as the alliance partners that we are. But it's not just about the cards, because there are also these ship upgrades and these crew that you can add to your deck. So the reason you might want to get coins is because it actually lets you buy cooler power. So I had a really fun combo of this character that let me trash cards to get more money. And then I had another character that let me like refresh a person. So I basically would trash a card, get money, trash a card, get money. And I was sitting with piles full of money. So I was buying so many of these ship upgrades, which then added cards back into my deck, and I had a really flexible build that way, which was pretty fun. There is also no reason why this game shouldn't be $30, you know? Really no reason. Like, absolutely no reason at all. This game should be $30. It's just a bunch of cards. Now, how much does Dominion cost? 40? It should be $40. It is way overpriced for what it is. But it is still pretty fun. And again, like all Ivy Studios games, the core tenet is creating a framework for which you can have fun at the table. And if you are communicative and you like talking, then that's a game that is worth checking out. And if you prefer your own sort of insular experience, then stay far away. Ivy Studios games, I don't think, are for you. So that was my first day. Well, my first day, Renee and I went into town, into San Francisco. We walked around, saw some sights. We went to a park. We went to Castro area, which is kind of like Wesleyan Church area if you're in Toronto. The Pride area, which was great. That's where we feel the most comfortable in any city, because generally that's where there is the least amount of hate, unless people are going in to commit hate crimes. But we didn't see any of those, so that was good. Yeah, and then this was Friday, and then Saturday I basically worked from 8 a.m. till 9:30 at night, essentially, is how it was scheduled out for me. Which was a bit of a bummer because I didn't get to play as many games, but we did play Western Legends, which again was on my list to try and was really quite lovely. It's very silly. I didn't expect this game to be so silly. Oh, that's who I was. Bass Reeves. Okay, Bass Reeves. Apparently these are based off of real Old West people. Bass Reeves. I wanted to be an outlaw, all right? I was ready to be an outlaw the whole game. And then I got dealt this character who just started off with 1 martial point, and whose character trait was that he had arrested 3,000 people, including his own brother. So in what world am I able to turn outlaw when that's my backstory? No world. So I had to follow the path of good, and I had to arrest all those naughty little Western outlaws that were running around and throw them into prison. And that's exactly what I did. Anytime someone would break the law, you know who was there? Bass Reeves was there. Calamity Jane? Nah. Bass Reeves was there. Here's the board. This is a good way of explaining what everything does. We have the wanted track, where if you're on the wanted track, you can be arrested. We have the martial track, which if you're on the martial track, you're me, you're Bass Reeves. And you're turning everybody to the side of good. And then you have all of these spaces out there. Anything with a symbol means you can basically do something there. Anything with not a symbol means it's a filler space to make it harder for you to get places. And this is just a big old sandbox game. Really thematic. Everything you do in it is fun. You can go mining gold and you just sell those gold. It gets you points. You can go play poker. If you win poker hands, guess what? You get points. You can deliver cattle. You can take some cattle and go down to the cattle market down here. Guess what? That gets you points. Or you can take the cattle and deliver it to the opposing cattle area, which is easier to get to and gives you evil points, which of course I could never do. You can just spend your money. You could go see a show, because essentially everything's getting you money, and that's just a way to kind of cash that money in for points. You can go buy additional upgrades. I bought myself a little Mustang and upgraded it so that I could move 5 spaces in one action instead of 2, which was huge for tracking down outlaw bandit villains. And then there are places where bandits can kind of spawn. Or you can go rob a bank. You can go rob the bank if you wanted to. Which, I was at the bank making a deposit, and everybody knew I was on the right side of the law, and yet for some reason, people kept on coming in to rob the bank while I was there, and so of course I would just say, no, I'm sorry, your bank robbing days are over. Even if the bank robbing would succeed, I'd be like, sorry, you're on my turn. I'm like, well, you're arrested. Go to jail. Do not pass go. Lose half of your money. What I also really liked about this game is that there are these story cards, so anytime you do something that's on a story card, there are like 4 different triggers. When a certain number of people complete that, you flip that over and you resolve something. So it's a fun event that happens. It's very lighthearted. It's very a bit swingy. You don't really care. It doesn't really matter how you get points. It kind of just matters running around and doing the best you can. And I like that your poker cards are multi-use. You can use them for their actions. You can use them to battle people and just play the highest card, or you can use them to try to create the best poker hand in poker as well. Just a fun, really fun, solid sandbox game. We played a 6-player game, and oh no, my ability is much better than that. Oh, cool, you have little goals. I also was told around the table that the expansions, they don't really add that much. I don't think you need to. It didn't seem like you needed the expansions. It seems like a game, when we said this around the table, that we would be happy to play like once every couple years. It's a great experience. If I played it every week, I would get completely bored of it. But otherwise, really fun. So that was our Saturday, and then Sunday, I had to finish up the WSBG event, so that took up most of my day. Again, we had more games scheduled in the morning, and then we had the semifinals and the finals, where the guy who won in the finals had never played the final game, Dune Imperium, and had never played the semifinal game, Raw. So just went on a run, essentially, and was up against some really good players, too. But that's what I love about the format, right? Anybody can win. Anybody can get there. And so finished that up, and then I had to pack everything up. I wanted to make sure that I sent the boxes off, got that out of the way because we'd shipped the games from Vegas. And so really didn't have that much time again that night for playing games, unfortunately. But I dragged Renee down, and we played a great game of Mysterium. Honestly, and Mysterium is a fun time. Mysterium is one of those games which it was just relaxing to play because we knew what was going on. Wasn't too involved, especially with a co-op. Everybody can kind of help each other with the hints and who's who and who's what. And so it was just relaxing. It was nice. Renee came down. It was great just to play something with Renee, and it was great just a relaxing way to finish off the con, just hanging out, chilling. I mean, at least finishing up the con for me, because the next day, the final day, Monday, the con still continued, but Renee and I went into the city to just see San Francisco. That's why she came. Her birthday is at the beginning of June, so kind of tied in close to that. So we wanted to make a trip out of it and just see the city and have some fun times, eat some good food, and feel like we'd seen everything. So I was really happy I did that too, because when you're in a new city, it's nice to explore. Although I would have liked to play more games. Oh, but one thing I did get at KublaCon, they had some really good vendors, and I picked up a copy of The Hunger. I'd heard about this in our Room and Board Deathmatch. See, I learned about some games too, and it seems very Clank style, where you're a vampire and you're tracking down humans to eat, and then you want to get back to your little hidey hole before the sun comes out and you die. And I think that's very funny, and I'm really looking forward to playing it, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how it plays. And it was $10. $10! And so even though I didn't really have space, I made space because it was $10, okay? $10 for a funny theme and potentially some good gameplay. I'm in. And if it's horrible, then I can sell it for $10 as well. Or maybe I'll sell it for $13.12 for the conversion. Yeah, it was a good time. Something that I didn't know that KublaCon had, so I didn't really get to see a lot of KublaCon. I felt like I missed a ton of it. I missed almost all of it, just basically being in my one little room. And when we were playing games, I was also in my one little room because I wanted to hang around my games and sign to make sure that they were safe, right? And did not lug them back up and down from my hotel room. So I really didn't see a lot. But apparently, and this is the thing, if you're in San Francisco, you should go just for this. If you have an addictive board gaming buying personality, instead of buying Kickstarters and spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars, you should go to KublaCon's auction and spend less than that on getting everybody else's Kickstarters that they realized that they didn't want. There's an auction where you just like raise your hand, people submit their stuff. There's like 3 different flea markets, and you submit your stuff for auction, and they'll just sell it for you. And it's ongoing for like 8 hours. I ran into somebody who I'd met at Dice Tower West. He also had gone to WSBG, and he was telling me about this. He was like, yeah, I saw a copy of Rising Sun that started at $25. Rising Sun in the Daimyo box started the auction at $25. Are you kidding me right now? I would buy a new suitcase to get a second copy and give it to someone. It ended up at 110 is what it went for. For the Kickstarter, the Daimyo box, which is always so much more expensive to get on the secondhand market, it went for essentially what you would have paid at Kickstarter like 5-6 years ago, whenever Rising Sun was, 2017, so 7 years ago. It's absurd. It's absurd and incredible, and I'm so sad that I missed it, but I'm glad that I walked partly into the vendor hall because I was looking for boxes because mine got absolutely demolished in shipping, and I needed to ship the games back. Yeah, I wish I'd seen that. They had a proto spiel area where you could test out new prototypes. They had some people walking around, like Matt Leacock was there. I saw Isaac Childress walking around too. He must be local, so that was pretty cool. They had a parade of children. Well, they had a room where you could just like drop your children off and have childcare there and play. Kids could play kids games there where people looked after them while you went to the main hall. That's awesome. But in the main hall, the main area where we had our final of the World Series, it was in the main foyer, so lots of pomp and circumstance. I said, well, does seem a bit noisy here, I said to the organizers, but as long as there isn't like a parade walking by, I said this in jest, I think we'll be okay. I think my players hopefully will be able to focus and not have too much overstimulation. And then lo and behold, halfway through the game, what goes by? A parade of all these tiny little children screaming KublaCon, led by a giant orc. And it was a real orc. Well, it was a person in a costume, but it was a very decked out costume of an orc. Do I have photos for you? No. Of course not. Do I have any B-roll? Absolutely not. Have I edited the KublaCon WSBG vlog yet? No. Is that going to be very lackluster? Probably. I filmed nothing. But I did film these sea lions. So there you go. We saw that on Monday. All these sea lions just flopping around. There's a big old pier with a bunch of sea lions on it. They're really cool. They're just slippery. Oh no! Well, we don't want to say that too loud.
Slip and sliding.
Okay, I don't know how you got in this B-roll, but I need you to leave.
These are my brothers. Come on, slip
Thank
in the water.
So that was fun, but did I get any of the con? No. But what I will say is, it is definitely an event where there is a lot going on. I think this year they said they had more than any other year, and I also feel like they felt it potentially for the table space. Even during my event, like my tables that I had designated for me, I spent most of the con like beating away people if they were trying to find a table to play a game. I was the person who was like, you can't sit here. You can't sit with us. I'm running a tournament. But I was also very mindful of when I had 4 tables, which then went down to 1. I said, okay, now I have 3 spots that have opened up. Hey, everybody, you can come on in. Like, I'll need it back at this time. But kind of monitoring that area for myself was necessary because it felt like there were a lot of people looking for table. But that also means a lot going on, right? So there's a catch-22. If you lock down a table, you don't have to worry about that. And that's why I think going to Kubla in a group might be the better thing, because of how spread out things are, right? It's nice just to be able to kind of lock in and say, like, okay, I'm doing this here. And or scheduling stuff in advance. Because if you're in a scheduled event, well, then you're going to have the table space for it, because there are going to be little signs out there that say, hey, this table is reserved from this time to this time. And the main organizer of it, Amanda, she's got a whole system of like, okay, it's this table here and this table here and this table here, and like juggling them all around to maximize that space and that availability, and so that it is clear too when it is there for an event and when it is there for open gaming. I think that sort of signage and that clarity was really, really good. But I think it also meant that sometimes you were left wandering a little bit, which is what some of the feedback that I got from people who I was playing with. So I think that's sort of noteworthy about KublaCon. But I also think that there are like a bunch of things that they have going on, and I had no knowledge of any of them. And so I really wish that this recap was more effective at giving you the full picture, but it absolutely is not. I recognize that. And you know what? Maybe I'll do better next year. Again, I was fairly occupied with WSBG stuff in this one, so there you go. But I still got to play a few fun games. So that was nice. Oh, I forgot to even talk about it. I played one game of Hanabi in between sets, in between events. And yeah, I mean, you probably know Hanabi. I've talked about this a lot. If you don't, it's great. You're building a fireworks display where you can't see your cards, but you can see everybody else's cards. You can see he doesn't know what cards he has. You can see they don't know what cards they have, but you can see someone else's, and they're building it in the middle. And so somebody sat down at a table. I was like, hey, listen, I'm going to need this in like 40 minutes. And they're like, yeah, that's cool. I'm just kind of chilling. And I said, oh, okay. It's like, well, you want to play a quick game in that 40 minutes? And I said, I very much do, even though I'm supposed to be judging this game over here, if you don't mind me getting up and leaving. And he was like, yeah, no problem. And so we played. He said, well, I have Hanabi. Have you played Hanabi? I said, I've played Hanabi a whole lot. Have you played Hanabi? And he said, I play it all the time. And I was so friggin' excited, because Hanabi thrives off of that unspoken communication, and you develop a language with your partner, right? You develop the tells and the conventions and figuring out what is in each other's hand. But playing this with a stranger who has had that experience, that separate experience of developing these things, was really, really exciting to me. And what was even more exciting is that we crashed and burned. We got 8 points or something like that, because I play fast and loose. And also, now, really, this is a spoiler. If you've never played Hanabi, don't listen to this next sentence. I'm not even friggin' kidding. Don't do it, because I don't want to ruin the Hanabi experience for you. Just mute me until I go like this, and then you'll know that I'm unmuted. Okay. But for people who have played Hanabi, then this won't ruin anything. But seriously, friggin' mute me. And I know you're gonna want to hear the little tip. I know you're gonna want to know, but I don't want to tell you. Okay. The best way to experience Hanabi is not knowing anything about why people do things. And I'm about to say something that is fairly basic, but it wasn't basic to both of our knowledge. So I guess maybe it isn't fairly basic. So I don't want to ruin that discovery for you. So stop it. And I know you're going to listen anyway. And to you, I say, mute it. It's like the spoiler tags on Discord. I always click them. I need to know what's under the hood. But I also need to get this off my chest, because it contextualizes the story. So now mute it now. You've had your chance. Mute it now. Okay. And if you muted it like a long time ago, I'm sorry. Okay. I'm still telling people to mute it. I'm going to put that in text so that you know. But it's coming up soon. Okay. Anyway. Jeez. I play fast and loose. And so my partner hinted me that I had one single one in my hand. And this, I assumed, was like indication that I should play this one. Because why would you hint me that I have one single one in the hand? Because it costs us a hint to use it, and it would get us a hint back. It's not an efficient clue, because the game, it just propels you towards the end of the game. But I love that my partner hinted me that, because that is clearly not something that they have learned or utilize in their Hanabi strategy. And I loved seeing that. Anyway, that's the example. Now you can unmute. You can unmute now. Anyway, I just love seeing the differences of how people play, and people who've played this and felt confident going in and seeing us crash and burn. Honestly, might have been the highlight, just because I like Hanabi a lot, and I just loved losing so abysmally. Anyway, that's it. I don't know who this recap is for. Did this tell you what Kubla is like? No. Did it tell you what WSBG is like? Probably not. Did it tell you some things about games you've never played? Maybe Hanabi, but you muted it for that part. I don't know. But what I do know is I had a good time, and that's what matters. And I came home with 2 games, and that's a wild thing. Yes, 2. The hunger and the even hungrier for something else, aka Spicify. Oh, shoot. I friggin' forgot to... I put these out so I could talk about them, and I forgot to talk about them. One of my players, he won Splendor. His name's Theron. He gave me these. These are cute little token holders. Actually, he had them out in Wingspan, and everybody was putting their eggs in them. And they're called token vessels. And he said, "Oh, you got a YouTube channel? I do not know how to market these. Please tell people about them." And I said, "Yes, of course I will tell people about them." I'm trying to get the token vessels. Did you see it there? That's weird. You can't even see it on camera. And then, oh yeah, there you go. Token vessels. Just too shiny. Token vessels. These were the sort of production samples, essentially. I was like, I don't want to take all your products. I said, oh, no. These are production samples. You're not good enough for me to give you a full set. No, just kidding. Didn't say that. You can close them up as well. Little like drawstring things. I think these are pretty neat. And then when you want to just kind of open them up, bloop, they open up. It's kind of cool. Shoop. Closing. And then bloop. Opening up. Honestly, I'm gonna put them in my other stuff. You can see right here. Anyway, if you're interested, there you go, tokenvessels.com, and they are quite neat. Yeah, I wasn't sure how I felt about them, but now that I see them even more in person and I see the closing and opening, I think it's pretty sweet. They have 2 sizes as well, so they have a larger size too, and everybody was really excited to see like the Wingspan stuff in them. Should I put some eggs in them? That'd be nice. Let's put some eggs in them. I mean, honestly, these eggs aren't the best example because I find Stonemeyer's, these containers are some of the best, just because they go into business. But, I don't know, it kind of looks like a little nest. I think these are cute. I know, it looks like a little Easter basket. And then you can close them up, which, then I'm going to shake them. We're going to do a friggin' shake test. So there is a little bit of a gap. I don't know how the shake test will go. Oh, actually much better than I expected. Oh, because it kind of condenses them, huh? Because they kind of got smushed a bit. I can see it. I bet I can get one to pop. Oh, got it. I got one to pop out if you really smush them. But they're actually kind of... That's surprising. It's very surprising. They're kind of really condensed and held together, even though they should pop out. I think because of the pressure. I think Theron is like an engineer or something. You can probably learn more about it at tokenvessels.com. But that is a cool thing. And people really liked having them on the table as these little like nesty things. So if you're looking for token organizers like this, or let's do a big one, like this. Well, that's only one set of eggs, but if you get a lot of eggs, I know people like organizers around. I like the fact that they can close. I think that is a huge boon. And it's not that difficult to do. It's more difficult to do in the air, really. But then I really like that they don't come out. It's actually killer. And they have a bunch of different colors, too. So, check them out if you're in the market for token holders. You know, these little colored tags. I think it's pretty cool. And Theron was a really nice guy. So, super nice of him to... Oh, it's still sticking in there. See? Can't even get them out. They're so good. Super nice guy. Definitely worth checking out, especially since these are the warped ones. They don't seem that warped to me, but maybe the other ones are more of a perfect circle. Yeah, so shout out to Theron for those. I'm excited to see what box and what tokens they are best suited for. Seems like the holes are strategic too. Doesn't seem like any cubes could get out of there. So you got a lot of cubes, potential. There's a lot of potential here. I'm excited. Very excited to have them, and very excited after seeing the efficacy of these little like closing pouches and the potential for storage there. and then just having them be able to pop open onto the table feels like it could be pretty cool. So shout out to Theron. Clearly I'm tired. I've got more to tell you about token vessels. Honestly, do we have, let's just go to the website here. It probably has this information on it. You're here, you might as well have a friggin' visual aid. Ridiculous. Oh, Concordia. There you go. They're doing what I did. Just flop them in. Yeah, Theron's a mechanical design engineer who works in consumer product development. Came out of a housemate using muffin cups to hold pieces in the have. Spent 4 years refining prototypes, launched on Kickstarter in 2023, fulfilled Kickstarter pre-orders. That's weird. I feel like I should have seen it on Kickstarter, and I'm upset that I didn't, because I have seen everything, but apparently not. But some other things that I didn't mention is that you could use it as a dice tray as well, which potentially, like a portable dice tray could be fun. And you can squish them into tight spaces. So I really like these dollar store containers. Where are they? These bins, these Dollar Tree bins. But it is true, if you only have a small amount of tokens, that these take up a lot of space. So being able to squish them because of the silicon, maybe that's a potential. I got to play with them a little bit more to find out. But yeah, and you can see inside, which is important. Makes it easier to pass out as well. Hence the little holes. And they're made from a certain type of silicon. 1.6 thick, super durable 50A silicone rubber. Cord is wax-coated cotton, which has its ends covered by chrome steel eglets, which I know what that means. And the cord lock is painted steel to keep it all fresh and clean and nice. So there you go. Dice Tower. Ultimate collapsible dice tower launching at some point. Oh, that is ultimate. Honestly, let's get that going. I don't even care about dice towers, and that makes me care about them. Alright, that's pretty cool. Anyway, check that out if you want. Anyway, I've got to go because Renee is trying to convince me to add even more furniture into our house because she wants it to look like a hoarder's den. So I need to talk her out of that. Renee, how was San Francisco? This is the KublaCon recap. Did you like it? The place. You didn't really see the convention. Did you like your trip? But it didn't earn a hat. Might have earned a sweater. Renee did get a great sweater at a thrift store that we went to. And Bob's Donuts were good.
If I am thrifting sometime and I see just a grubby crew neck sweater that says San Francisco, I'll say, I've been there. I'll wear that.
Exactly. San Francisco. We've been there.
The Musée Mécanique, did you tell?
Oh yeah, we went to the Musée Mécanique, which was a bunch of old, carnival games where you could put quarters in. Free entry. That was really fun. Antique arcade games, which I associate as carnival games. But I guess, yeah, antique arcade games. We also got to pay 25 cents to see what naughty Marietta was up to. Let me tell you, she was sitting there, fully clothed, in various poses. So, tube tops are scandalous. That's what we learned in San Francisco. Yeah, that's it. I mean, I like hanging out with you, so I hope you like hanging out with me. I know this recap wasn't good, but you know what? It's content.